Welcome everyone to another Tour Life. Today is Tuesday, January 23rd, 2024. And today we're talking some tournament recaps. We had a few A tiers over the weekend. We're also talking about Kristin Tattar's new sponsor, spurred up some controversy there. Boy Scouts and disc golf, I never would have thought. We have some player movement. We have a very interesting wild story of the week, and we're going to finish it off with some listener questions. Uli, how's it going, brother?
It's good. It's really good, man.
How's the weather out there?
Oh man, I feel like it's the same
garbage
everywhere.
Out here.
It's awful. Yeah, it's been bad. It's been cold. Yesterday was actually nice though. It was sunny. I got some lessons in. Today, kind of cruddy. Tomorrow, cruddy. Day after, cruddy. But I mean, it's better than most places. You can still go outside and do stuff if you want.
Yeah, it was not good today. It was cold and rainy and all that stuff. So not ideal for me today.
This weekend, we ran my foundation, the Ulibarri Leadership Foundation fundraiser tournament. Dude,
oh, nice.
It was 20 miles an hour, the wind, and it was 16 degrees.
How many people showed up? Did everyone show up?
I think so. It was full, but it was awful. The people who showed up, thank you so much. I'm saying that it was 16 degrees. That was the wind chill. It was like 20 or something, but it was brutal. So thank you for everybody who did show up to support. And we raised like $2,000 for the foundation, which was awesome.
These are the weeks that I'm very fortunate and grateful that I have a way to work out inside my house, because I mean, we went to the gym today and lifted, but running outside is running outside is actually dangerous right now with how slippery it is and it's cold. My bones could break if I fall. That's something we have to worry about at our age. If we fall, it's not just dust the dirt off. It's we need to start checking all of our vital organs.
True story. I was giving my lesson yesterday. It was so cold. Giving my lesson, he throws a shot like over this fence. I'm like, all right, just give it a little hop.
Oh, no.
Right over, hop. Gave it a little hop again, fine. 10 minutes later, I'm like, ooh, what's up with that groin? Tweaked my groin, dude. Like, not bad, but I'm like sitting in bed and I'm like watching a movie and I like went to lift it up. And you know how those are. Yep. It was like, didn't lift up like with ease. And I'm like, dang, had to go get in the ice bath and the whole thing. So I hear you, man. At our age, you're right.
Yeah.
A little fence hopper.
You gotta be taking care of your body 24/7 if you actually want to do anything athletically, or it can be real dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, let's talk about something real quick.
Okay.
Top of the show. Got to bring this up. Didn't want to have to do this, by the way. I did not want to have to do this, but Hunter, Trevor, and Connor, they left me no choice. They have decided that they want to start a rivalry. Grip Locked versus Tour Life. They want the heat. We will bring them the heat, okay? They are trying to sell more merchandise, more Grip Lock merchandise than Tour Life. They're bringing up the numbers. They're talking about it. Silas, I think we have the updated numbers right now, which is, let me see. So the updated numbers as of right now, Tour Life has sold 64 units. Grip Locked has sold 61 units. Now, Silas, pull up if you can. Let's go with Grip Lock merch first. If you can pull up the Grip Lock merch. On the show this week, they did not know what they could do against the Uli horse. The Uli horse logo is strong and well. People love the Uli horse logo. That's the #1 seller in the hoodie. I think it was also the #2 seller. So what does Grip Lock do? Click the top left one right there for me, Silas. They decide to go and make themselves a Connor horse. Yes, this is Connor's face with the wings to make the Connor horse to combat our Uli horse. Now, what did I do to this? I said, okay, first off, a little bit of an unfair advantage. They have Hunter, who is the designer. Hunter is the one that puts all this stuff on the site. Okay, so a little bit of a disadvantage. So I said, Hunter, me and you are sitting down today and we're putting more stuff on the site. We need more because you did this first release. It was great. We have some cool stuff up there, but we need more. So Silas, throw it up there. Let's show the people what we did.
Stuff been
Look
live?
At that hat. Look at that hat. Okay, top left. Let's click on that hat real quick. This is a fire hat. You're gonna maybe have to go to, there it is.
Ooh.
Camo Uli horse hat. Okay, we've got that. Okay, go back to the main screen. We've got trucker hats now. So if you want a Uli horse trucker hat, we've got that. Different colors as well. And then if you can go to the hoodies, we have 3 different styles of hoodies now. We have the flag Uli horse, we have the camo Uli horse, and we have the white Uli horse. Go to the white one real quick. Or actually go to the pink or the light blue. I think I just got a light blue coming to me. Okay, this is clean stuff here. Okay, I like it. We also have long sleeve shirts as well. We added some long sleeve shirts because it's cold. We got you guys covered. And then click that blue shirt right there too, Silas. Yeah, that's right. This is a performance tee. Okay, so the shirt I'm wearing right now, I can go out and play disc golf in this, but if I sweat in this, it's not going to be great, right? It's not going to be ideal. So what do? We got a performance tee Uli horse shirt for you guys in different colors as well. We are going to win this battle because it is what it is. Tour Life versus Grip Locked. It'll be something that we continue to bring up week after week. You guys like anything on the Tour Life merchandise, check it out. If you're listening to us, go to foundationdisc.com. Check out the Tour Life collection. Tons of cool stuff on there. And we're going to work with you guys too. If there's something that you want that's not on there, let us know in the comments. Tweet us, send us something, and we'll get it up there. So wanted to shout out real quick our first photo of a Tour Life crew in action member with the Uli horse shirt. This is Kurt the man shooting us with the Uli horse flag shirt. And then also our very own Grant, who does all the social clips. Grant also is there. I believe that's his wife or girlfriend. I'm not sure. I think it might be his wife.
I shared that. It was a nice little photo shoot they did.
Very, very cool photo shoot he did with all the Tour Life merch. Silas is wearing his Tour Life merch right now. You can't see him. He doesn't have a camera. And Uli, you're getting yours soon. The guy's got COVID. So you're just getting you're getting smoked right now. You're getting absolutely smoked.
Yeah.
So thank you to everyone that has placed an order so far. We really do appreciate it. And we'll keep going forward. We'll keep making it happen. So, all right, first topic, Shelley Sharpe Memorial goes down. We get to talk a little disc golf in the off season. This is mostly people that are in the Southwest. Most of these guys already live out there. They're playing in the A tier out there. We get to see kind of how people are, maybe how their game is going into the season. Parker Welk takes it down, finishing first place after beating Anthony Barella in a playoff. You have Drew Gibson getting third place. Some other notable names that were in the field. You had Aaron Gossage in the field, and you also had Andrew Marweed. Now, Marweed did have his first ever DNF. He went to social media to let people know his back. I guess he was having some major back issues, so hopefully nothing too severe. The season is just a month away or so. So hopefully he can get 100% for the season. But that's what went down in MPO. FPO, you have Owen Scoggins taking first, Jennifer Allen taking second, and Emily Yale, not familiar with that name, taking third. We also had the 23rd annual Southwest Florida Open happen this past weekend, where Albert Tam takes the win in that. And yeah, I don't really have much to say other than it's cool to see people out there playing tournaments. Do you have anything to add to that, Uli?
No, I mean, cool to see Parker doing well with his new plastic. Yep. Doesn't seem like he's having a tough time transitioning. Scores were pretty good. Looked like pretty bad weather the last day. Like you said, Andrew Marweed had an injury. I watched some of the coverage, and he was having a tough time even picking up his mini. So tough call on his part. Drew was having an absolute heater going into the last round. He was like 12 under with 4 to play or something crazy.
What courses did they play? Did they just play Vista or did they play Fountain also?
It's Vista. Yeah, Memorial layout.
So it's
XL.
just the Memorial base.
Yep.
Okay. Gotcha.
So he was 12 through 14 holes.
Wow.
Which is pretty crazy. He ended up only shooting, I think, maybe 11 under. Okay. But had a chance to really throw down a heater. He could have won the tournament if he birdied out or something crazy, and he was like 6 or 7 back.
Wow.
That's it. No, that's it. I mean, Anthony and Parker tie. Next weekend is the Maricopa Open, another A tier, just right about 35 miles away from where they are right now. That'll be fun to see who takes that down. And like you said, nice to see some action going on.
Yeah, I mean, you can't really pull too much from this because, you know, these courses aren't tour level courses anymore. There's a reason why they're not on tour. But you can still kind of get a gauge of like who's playing well. And like you said, Parker Welk, I think, is the big storyline here. Obviously, he won the tournament, but he was the one that kind of left his sponsorship. And, you know, the way it happened, we kind of speculated how this goes down, of where if the person is leaving and has something lined up, the way that they kind of post about it's a lot different than if the person's like, hey, I'm kind of getting kicked out. It seemed like he was kind of getting kicked out almost of his sponsorship situation with Prodigy, I believe it was. Got picked up with DGA and has an A tier win under his belt right away. So I think that's the big takeaway here, is someone, you know, who is a tour winner already. And we're going to talk a little bit more about sponsorships later on, so I don't want to get too far in it. But he won on tour last year, and he's kind of picking up where he left off with a nice win here. So congratulations to him and Owen Scoggins, who's an absolute monster as well. All right, big topic, or probably the biggest storyline of the week. I don't know if you saw this, Uli, because it wasn't really talked about that much on social media outside of Reddit. I didn't really see that many people talking about it on Twitter or Instagram, but Kristin Tattar made an announcement on her Instagram about a new sponsor. The sponsor is PAF, I believe. PAF. And PAF is a gambling company that is online and also on cruise ships. There was a mixed reaction to this announcement. On one side of the fence, I think you had a lot of people that were excited, or, hey, this is awesome that a big company like this that is not connected to disc golf in any way is taking notice of disc golf and sponsoring someone. And then you had the other side of the fence, which is the gambling aspect, right? And whenever you have gambling involved with sport leagues, I think that always causes some conflict. And I'm just going to read, I guess I'll read some of these comments that were on the Reddit thread, and maybe we can, you know, discuss some. If any of these pop out to where you feel like you want to jump in and talk about it, let me know. But I'm just going to kind of run through some of these. So,
well, I want to give my opinion before I hear or get
what
like
other
adjusted.
People are thinking?
Yeah.
Okay.
First thing that I want to say is, when it comes to gambling, there is a reason that there's an age limit for it, right? You have to be a certain age to gamble. We get that. In sports, the reason that they are so big is because that is a multi-billion-dollar industry. The reason people like to watch football as much as they do is because of fantasy, is gambling. Fantasy football, getting your players, all that stuff, that's done through all kinds of different sites like DraftKings or FanDuel or whatever. Another thing that I want to say is, what we do for a living is gambling. We put an entry fee in, and then we compete for it. That's exactly what we do.
Definitely a form. Yeah, I mean, because I guess some people would say, well, like, you guys have, and you're able to impact your chances of winning, but that's basically poker as well, right? Like, these are all things of where, at the end of the day, right now, with how disc golf is set up, it is a form of gambling. You're right. And we've talked about this before of where disc golf really does feel like you're going to your buddy's place. Everyone's throwing $50 in the pot and you're divvying up the money at the end. That's what it feels like sometimes.
So let's get into those comments. That's where I sit. It's just, it's part of what we do, and gambling will be a part of disc golf eventually, I believe, if we want to be a notable sport. Mm-hmm. I think it's one of the things that helps grow the sport. It really does. It brings awareness. It brings excitement to somebody who wants to, let's say, eventually have some sort of fantasy thing to where they can put in their players and put an entry fee in and make money doing something like that. And just like anything, there will be rules and regulations for us to where maybe we won't be able to do it as competitors. You know what I'm saying? Like that's in real, and I say real sports, that's in the big sports as well. And the people who do that get in trouble. I mean, one of the most famous ones is Pete Rose, not in the Hall of Fame because of sports gambling.
Let me expound a little bit too, because I think some people might be a little confused with what we're talking about with gambling. The way that disc golf currently is set up for the majority of people that are playing it, the majority of people are paying to play in the tournament, and then the winnings that are coming out, the majority of the winnings are from the entry fees. When those things change, when someone else is paying my entry fee, or when the majority of money that's coming out is from sponsorships and whatever dollars, then that is going to be less like gambling. Because I can see some people being like, well, that's a stretch to call it gambling. It's just kind of the form, the way that it's currently set up. It's
gambling.
It's got a little side of
it's gambling for sure.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll see. Okay, let me read some of these comments now. Someone said it before, disc golf will go mainstream in Europe before it does in the US. And we've talked about this before. The markets over in Europe, they don't have to compete with as many different major sports. We have all 4 of the major sports over here, outside of soccer. We have all 4 of the major sports over here. They necessarily don't really have that. So a sport like disc golf, they can put a little bit more effort into it. So that's not too crazy. Someone did have a good response to that though, saying like Estonia's population or Estonia's market is the size of Florida's. So there is a scale as well of where if disc golf is the 20th biggest sport in the United States, that could potentially still be bigger than if it's the number 1 sport in Estonia, right? So we'll see how it plays out, but they definitely are getting a lot more outside companies interested in it. So that's been good to see. This person says, I'm torn on this one. On the one side, glad to see Kristin Tattar raking in the sponsorship money. She deserves it with the level that she's competing at. On the other hand, gambling sites sponsoring athletes or organizations in other sports has consistently led to conflicts of interest and a somewhat hypocritical stance from the governing bodies, be it esports where match fixing runs rampant, or the NHL where players are suspended for half a season for gambling on non-NHL matches. It's a really sticky road to go down, and it seems only the casinos ever truly win in this arrangement. So the first thing I'll say is there is, as far as my knowledge goes, there is no longer gambling in disc golf. Prize Picks was really the only one that was allowing it. They're no longer in disc golf. So the conflict of interest and all that stuff of where Kristin's sponsored by someone, I think that doesn't really exist for her because there is no gambling in it. Right?
No, not to my knowledge. I know that there's been a few times like the World Championships has had you could pick the winner. Okay. And there were odds there. And then like you said, Prize Picks, but other than that, I nothing to my recognition.
Because it definitely gets a little bit more awkward or a little bit more dicey if this company, PAF, is also putting out lines for disc golf. And
yes.
You can bet with them.
But
and Kristin is involved with
yes.
them.
And if she's involved with them, but my point is then our governing body will have to make rules.
Yep.
And then if she breaks those rules or whoever is sponsored by that company, then you have to pay the penalty, just like anything. So, I mean, that's just the way that it works, you know? There's going to be rules, and if you break them, then that's on you.
Another comment said, I don't think it's a good idea to associate disc golf with gambling. Someone else said, maybe the worst sponsor move so far in pro disc golf. Gambling and casino companies earn part of their money from people with gambling addiction. Another one said, not a fan of gambling, getting involved directly with sports leagues, which they're not. They're getting involved with an athlete, not the actual sports league. Someone said, yuck, I know there's money to be made, but I lose a bit of respect anytime an athlete sells out to a gambling company. This guy says, KT always seemed like such an inspirational athlete, thoughtful, humble, and professional. This is not a good move. Very surprised. A few years ago, I briefly worked with systems design to detect risky gambling behaviors in online casinos and got to learn a lot about gambling addiction. Suffice to say, I would not want to be associated with that. And then someone else said, not my favorite industry, but the fact that she's bringing in outside money is absolutely the way to go. Disc manufacturers are peanuts in the context of paying retirement for thousands of pros. This is the kind of money that will make it happen. So I kind of just looked at like the most popular comments, and it seemed like the most popular ones from Reddit, which is not too surprising, were more on the side of like like not a fan of this move. But there was, you know, if you scroll through them, there was people that were in support. And I'm sure if you go to Kristin's Instagram with this announcement, I'm sure her fans are super supportive and really excited for this sponsorship as well. So yeah, it's an interesting one for sure, but it's nothing too new in the sports world, right? Like athletes get sponsored by gambling companies all the time.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it's just new, right? It's like the first new thing in disc golf. So I think that's where there's like some pushback, but you have to understand that as the sport grows and more eyeballs get put onto disc golf, which we're all wanting. That's what we want. We want more people playing disc golf. We want more people watching disc golf. We all want that. You're going to get gambling companies involved. You're going to get alcohol companies involved. That's the next one. That's the next big one is these alcohol companies, right? And this is what is going to happen. All right. You good with that? Move forward on that one?
No. Yeah, I think we covered it pretty well.
Okay, Boy Scouts of America has updated its golf merit badge to include disc golf. So if I'm understanding this, because I was in the Boy Scouts, but I kind of was just in it for the Pinewood Derby, which is absolutely fire. Did you ever participate in the Pinewood Derby? So you get like a little box car, and you got to try to soup it up as much as you can. So we put pennies to try to get the weight just perfectly. And you put everyone's box car at the top of this, like, what's the right word to say? It's at the very top of like a ramp, kind of. And so, yeah, there you go, size. And so you drop it, you let go of all the box cars, or you remove a piece of wood so they all fall down at the same time. And then whichever one gets to the very end is the winner. That's what I remember from Boy Scouts. And it was awesome. And I loved it. But I never got to like the Eagle Scout or any of that. Fun fact, I believe Calvin is an Eagle Scout. Also, how many more disc golf? I feel like there's a lot of disc golfers that would be Eagle Scouts for some reason. I just feel like those two things probably would go in line. But I think with Eagle Scouts is when you start getting all these badges and you start like accumulating, like, I know how to start a fire badge. I don't even know. Because clearly I didn't know this golf one. So there's a golf badge, and I was looking into it a little bit, and it sounds like initially it was just golf, and now they've added disc golf. And like I'm reading this thing, and it's like, so it says complete one of the following option. Option 1, traditional golf. Option 2, disc golf. And then it's got this crazy list of all this stuff. So let me just kind of go down some of this list and tell me what your thoughts are. Like, did the Boy Scouts of America get this right? Are these all the things you got to know for disc golf? Here we go. Study the PDGA official rules of disc golf now in use. 1. Tell about the 6 areas of courtesy. 2. Describe the 7 areas of scoring. 3. B. Tell about the understanding of the PDGA disc golfer's code. Do the following. Tell about the history of disc golf and why it is an inclusive game. Discuss with your counselor the contributions Ed Hedrick made to the sport of disc golf. Describe the evolution of disc design. Tell about the accomplishments of a top disc golfer of your choice. D. Do the following. Tell how disc golf can contribute to a healthy lifestyle mentally and physically. Tell how a disc golf exercise plan can help you play better. Show 2 exercises that would help improve your game. Show the following: a good throwing grip, a good run up, a backhand shot, a forehand shot, an overhand shot, a rolling shot, a good putting stance, a good straddle putting stance, a good putting grip, a good putting motion and follow through, the proper use of a mini marking disc. Play a minimum of 18 holes of disc golf with another disc golfer about your age and with your counselor or an adult approved by your counselor. Follow the PGA official rules of disc golf. Practice good disc golf etiquette. Show respect to fellow disc golfers and other people in the park, along with the wildlife, trees, and plants on the property. Find out about 3 careers related to disc golf. Pick one and identify the education, training, and experience required for this profession. Discuss this with your counselor and explain why this interests you. This is awesome. I'm all about this.
I feel like half the people on the pro tour would fail this. Without a doubt.
I am all about this though, because
100%.
You got to know, like, when you're in this mode of like badge collecting, you want all. It's like Pokemon. You want to collect them all, and golf, to a lot of people, is a little bit scary, right? There's a lot to it. It's expensive. It's very difficult. We might see a lot of Boy Scouts out on the course making fires and throwing discs, baby.
Please no fires, but throwing frisbees, teaching people about the etiquette. Heck yeah,
I like it. I'm actually a fan. So shout out to Boy Scouts of America. It sounds like someone that is a disc golfer was involved with that. That did not.
Sure.
Like, when I first read it, I was thinking like, oh boy, this is gonna be bad. Like, it's gonna be someone that's just like, oh, disc golf, and like, have no idea what they're talking about. That person knew what they were talking about. So very cool. Shout out to Boy Scouts of America. If anyone watching this, if you guys are Eagle Scouts and you have the disc golf badge, please let us know. I would love to know.
Sounds like they got involved with the PDGA.
That's also, yeah. You think that's now that you say that, 100%. It sounds like the PDGA wrote that. That's a good one. Yeah. There was a lot of reading the PDGA courtesy violation rules, all that stuff. All right. Next topic. Let's talk about player movement.
Whoa. No, the scouting
breaking news
adaptation is 2 years in the making from 2 scout master leaders.
Wait, what?
Jay Redding, Des Redding, and the educational disc golf experience.
Wait, what? What'd you just read?
I got a text from Jay Redding.
And what'd he say?
They did it. They were the people involved.
They were the ones that did this.
Yes.
Oh, heck yeah. To the Reddings. Shout outs to the Reddings.
Go.
You know awesome.
What? The fact that I said PDGA and I didn't go straight to Jay and Des Redding is absolutely, you know what? They're obviously watching, and I'm sorry.
Wasn't I spot on though by saying that it was definitely someone in disc golf?
Yes.
With just the way the verbiage, they knew their stuff. So
yes, they know their stuff.
Very cool stuff. Very cool stuff. And hey, shout out to the Reddings for watching Tour Life. Appreciate you guys. All right, player movement. This might be the final week because I think the only person that hasn't announced where they're going is Chandler Kramer. I think after this week, I'm pretty sure we're not waiting for any more announcements. The big one that we were waiting for was Niklas Antilla. And from his Instagram post, I thought he was leaving Discmania. It sounded like he was leaving Discmania. After we talked about it on the podcast, people were letting me know, like, hey, he kind of left it open-ended. And some people actually guessed correctly that he wasn't actually leaving Discmania. He's just going to get onto the Sky team. You know, Eagle's leaving. He basically is taking Eagle's spot on the Sky team. Or I guess Gannon was added to the Sky team as well. So however you want to see it. Now, my question to you, though, Uli, was this planned out all along? Was his initial announcement, hey, guys, starting a new chapter, this one's over, was that like to get us to think he was leaving when he knew he wasn't? Or was that basically saying, like, calling Discmania's bluff or something and saying, like, I'm out, I'm leaving? And then Discmania came back and offered something he couldn't refute. Like, what were your thoughts on that?
I was thinking the same thing, because I thought that his announcement was talking about him leaving for sure, the way that the verbiage was and everything. But then him signing again, I'm like, all right, nice job. You know, kind of got us thinking and waiting, and then dropped, the extension. So yeah. I think that was probably what happened.
So he ends up signing a 4-year deal with Discmania. At the end of this contract, he will be with Discmania for 10 years. He's been with them for 6. He's going to be with them for 10 years after this contract. He now, like I said before, he now joins Kyle Klein, Gannon Buhr on the Sky team. He will also be getting his own mold for this upcoming season. So that will be cool to see kind of how that works out.
I loved his video too that they came out with.
It was very professional. It was well done.
Gave a little background of him and everything, and the time that he spent there, and it was probably my favorite one so far this year.
It was very well done. This is from Frisbee Golf Media. Talking to Niklas, he said, I'm at the part of my career where I've established myself in the US and in Europe. I wanted a longer period so that I don't need to think about these things. A long contract gives me peace. So it sounds like the 4-year deal was one of those where he's just like, all right, I can chill for 4 years. Like, I know that I'm good for 4 years. I don't have to stress out. So shout out to him, especially in a time where not that many people are signing long contracts. A lot of 1-year deals are going out right now. So for him to lock in 4 years, shout out to him. Discmania's founder went on to say, UC went on to say, as far as he knows, Antilla's contract is the biggest European contract. When asked if Niklas can achieve €1 million during the next 4 years, he replies, it is possible, even probable. So it sounds like his guarantee contract is not at $250,000 a year, or else he would have said 100%. But it sounds like there is a chance for him to earn $250,000 a year through bonuses and royalties and all that stuff. But biggest European contract. I was trying to think of other big names. You have Vino would be the one. We know Kristin Tattar is making $125 a year, which I don't know what her contract will be once that one ends up getting. But I'm trying to think who else would have like big contracts on the European side.
Steppo, but he obviously retired. But when he was signing those contracts, I bet they were pretty big.
Yeah, the only name that really popped off, and maybe I'm missing someone, the only name that really popped off is that would probably get a big contract as well is probably Vino. So,
well, Vino is insanely popular in Finland. Like, he is absolute superstar.
He is.
I think somebody told me that he's more popular than Niklas.
Yes, he is.
Yeah,
he is.
Which is kind of crazy because I feel like Niklas has more achievements, maybe.
I think Vino, though, has been doing the social media side a little bit more.
Right.
So he has a bigger social media following. Some other announcements. we didn't touch on this one, or maybe we did, but maybe we skimmed over it. I want to talk about this one a little bit longer. We have Lisa Fakis announcing on her Instagram saying, "Stoked to announce I'll be 100% open bag by choice in 2024. After 7 awesome seasons with Innova and 1 with Lone Star, I'll be representing Team me, while throwing all my favorite brands. Beyond that, I have a dream retail sponsor I will be teaming up with. Absolutely stoked to be joining the new team OTB East. This is the launch of OTB East. Check them out. Step 1 for me is getting comfortable with my new bag and ready to go for the season." So our first ever, this might be our first ever announcement on Tour Life of a player that is deciding to not have a sponsor in Tour full time. That seems risky.
Well, it depends, because I feel like some players who have a manufacturer they're going after, I mean, there's kind of a set price out there right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And some players just aren't getting contracts, period. Like, they're just not getting them. I have a lot of people who have come to me and been like asking, "Hey, is there a spot on the team?" or blah, 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 not to name names. And there's not contracts going out for certain players. Lisa is a decorated player. She's known for being a great putter on the tour.
Almost won world champion.
Yep. She's won silver events. She's been top 3 in multiple other big time events. So she's a pretty high caliber player. I'm wondering though, if you're gonna, I mean, what is the number? If a manufacturer, let's say, offers you $500 a month to throw their brand, but you can be like, okay, I'll play for OTB, and then I can get discs from all kinds of different brands with my stamp on there. Will I be making more? And I think the answer is yes. So I don't think that this is a crazy scenario for some players to do, to be able to be like, okay, OTB, I don't want a contract with anybody. I want to be able to get, let's say, some zones. I want to be able to get some destroyers, put my stamp on those, and sell them all through the retail shop. I don't think it's a bad idea.
Yeah, I mean, I think we are all after that guaranteed money. That is the kicker right now. The supply for discs is through the roof. When I first came in, there were a handful of Tour Series discs that people wanted, and that was pretty much it. Now there are so many players on both sides, really, MPO and FPO, to where if you're not in that like elite group, it's tough. It's tough to have people buy your discs.
Yeah, it is.
It really is. So I think what we're seeing too from a lot of these companies, and we've talked about this a little bit, is some companies got a little bit out, some manufacturers got a little bit out over their skis during COVID, and we're literally just handing money out to players and saying like, you get a sponsorship, you get a sponsorship, you get a sponsorship, and signing these big time sponsorships with tons of players. And now that we've kind of come off of that, of where, and a lot of people say COVID, I think it was a combination of people literally just getting those checks in the mail. What were those called? Stimulus checks. I mean, those, I don't know what the percentage was, but I wouldn't be shocked if like half the fans of disc golf were just using those straight to disc.
Like, sure.
Like, I don't know what the percentage is, but it seems like a lot. And now that I'm in the card collecting world a little bit, it seemed like that's what was happening in the card collecting world. Yes. Is people were getting these stimulus checks, and now they're just going out and using that money straight to buy more boxes to open. So,
well, not only that, but they were going back. They're stuck inside. They're going in their closet and finding old baseball and football cards. And then people are online looking and selling, trying to make a little extra money. And then it just kind of blew up.
Yeah. So you had the stimulus checks from people, but then you also had manufacturers not being able to make discs anymore, right? People, they weren't having as many hours. They had supply issues. And so that just made everything seem like the demand was so much higher than it actually was. And now that the demand has kind of come to like a flat line, or at least now we're more of a steady state, I guess you could say. I think a lot of these manufacturers are saying, hey, we've got 5 dudes and we got 3 girls and they're all ballers. Adding an extra person, I don't know if that really does much. So we'll see. And we're going to get into it right now. You have Sai Ananda signing a 2-year extension with Westside. Jake Mon, 1 year with DGA. Scott Withers, 1 year with AGL. Ezra Robinson, 1 year with Prodigy. Holland Hanley signs a 2-year deal or 2-year extension with Discraft. And then DGA signs 1-year deals with Alezra, Parker Welk, Macy, Evan Scott, and Sullivan Tipton. So we're seeing a lot of these companies be a little bit more cautious when it comes to sponsorships and saying, "Hey, let's just do a 1-year deal."
Do you think it's the manufacturer, or do you think it's the player also being like, "Hey, I just want a 1-year deal"?
The only person on that list that I think was the only person on that list that wanted a 1-year deal was Ezra Robinson. Not a single other of those people were wanting a 1-year deal. No shot. Ezra's smart. Ezra's like, hey, I'll do 1 more year with Prodigy. I get a chance to build up my resume a little bit more. Then I can make a big move. All these other people, no, I don't think so. Because you got to think, like, Sullivan Tipton left Discraft. He was looking for a sponsor. Parker was looking for a sponsor. Macy was looking for a sponsor, which shout out to DGA for picking Macy up. I mean, Scott Withers and Jake Mon, I didn't even know that they were out of sponsorships. So yeah, I mean, I think the majority of us would want to have that long-term commitment, long-term contract, unless you are in a stage of where you're like, listen, where I was last year is completely different to where I'm going to be at next year. I'm betting on myself. Let's do 1 year. Are you agreeing, or do you think some of those people wanted a 1 year? I could be totally off.
I agree. I was just asking the question because I do think there is a little wiggle room there to give some people the benefit of the doubt, like you did with Ezra, to be like, okay, probably wanted a 1-year deal.
The only thing with Ezra is it's like Ezra didn't claim that he was leaving. I didn't see any posts about Ezra leaving Prodigy. So that seemed to be more on the back, like behind the scenes deal, where Parker, Macy, Sullivan, Tipton. Evan Scott's an interesting one because I think, was he on Discraft last year?
Yeah.
And, I think Discraft at DGA is not an ideal situation, right?
I mean, depends on what you're looking for. Listen,
what would, as a player, what would make you want to go from Discraft to DGA?
Well, think
and
about it.
For those wondering, Discraft makes DGA's discs.
Well, look at the elite team. Like Evan Scott had a great year. Mm-hmm. He made lead card at the Worlds, had a good chance to win the World Championships. He won a Silver Series event in Montana. Mm-hmm. He pushed Ricky to the brink in Washington. Like, he was having a baller season. And so if the points don't add up to where you get that elite series spot, and you can go to DGA and get your own disc and have that spot, then it makes a lot of sense. You know what I mean?
So he's going to get a tour disc at DGA, not a tour disc at Discraft.
I think so.
But if both were equal, I mean, I think DGAs would come out and say that as well, as like they are. I'm trying to think of some other. It's the same thing as like Millennium and Innova, right? Like, you want to be sponsored by Innova instead of Millennium.
Well, it also looks like
if you could pick.
It also looks like DJ's making a nice little push here to grab some good players and maybe kind of separate themselves a little bit from that narrative of, hey, I'm the little sister of Discraft. Now they're picking up some good players because now they have a stacked team, and don't forget Katrina Allen's on that team as well.
They have, and looking at the team too, a bunch of young players, right? They've got a bunch of young players. And is it Ellie Ezra? Is that how you pronounce it? Ellie Ezra? I think it's Ellie Ezra. Look for her next year to potentially make a push at some of these tournaments as well. So maybe you're right. Maybe they are, doing kind of what was it, Hooligan Disc that decided to like get away from Lone Star. I don't know. I haven't heard anything, but maybe this is a step in that direction of where it's like, all right, Discraft, we've been under your wing for this amount of time. We feel like we're ready to kind of go off and do our own thing. So maybe we'll see it. Maybe we'll see that happen. That will definitely be cool if that ends up going on. All right. Wild story of the week. You ready for this?
Yes.
Here we go. Don't lick your fingers before you putt. It's winter here in the Pacific Northwest, and that means cold frisbee, gloves, hand warmers, and slippery discs. I was playing in a local winter series tournament somewhere around the 9th hole. I had a decent drive off the tee and with a look for birdie. I set my marker, put my disc in my bag, put my hand back in my glove, and waited for my turn to putt. When the time came to putt, I took my gloves off and gave my putt hand a nice solid ripping lick. I was in tournament mode, so I was heavily focused on the putt. But to my disgust, I smelled something a bit off. When I looked down at my hand, I had just licked for grip. I had smattering of dog poop all over it. My drive had landed in dog poop. I had poop all over my hand, my driver, and a smidge in my mouth. My cardmate came over to me, put his hands on my shoulder, and said, "Honestly, man, if I were you, I'd go I'd go home. That's disgusting." I sank the putt for birdie and ended up walking away from the tournament with a win. But let's be honest, I also felt a little bit like a loser. Don't forget your chalk bags, my friends. Don't lick your fingers before you putt. Okay, it's so easy to do too, because so many times when you pick up that disc, there's like a little bit of mud or dirt on it, and you feel it on your fingers, so you don't think anything of it. Oh gosh,
brutal.
I would have puked. Like, I don't know if I would have puked when it got in my mouth, but when I noticed that it was dog poop, I think I would have initially just vomited all over. So yeah, check your fingers before you lick them, folks.
Hey, and kudos for sharing your story.
Yes, and if you want to share yours, if you're listening,
could have been one you took to the grave.
If you're listening and want to share your story, you can send your stories into our intern David at wildstorytour@gmail.com. That's wildstorytour@gmail.com, and we might just tell your story on the next episode. All right, I'm excited for this one. Last episode, lots of people really loved Edwin Stats. So I'm very excited. We're bringing Edwin Stats back again, and hopefully this is an every week thing. Edwin just drops us with stats. Now, you think in your head, stats. Okay, what are we going to be talking about? What's it going to be? Uli, we've got a monster on our hands. Edwin is an absolute monster. Look what he created for us, okay? This thing is a masterpiece. And for our listeners at home, I'm going to try to break this down as best as I possibly can. This is the 2023 most improved players and also the most declined, the players that decline the most. So what Edwin did is he compared the key statistics from 2023 to 2022. Now, for it to be a good set of data, he made sure that you had to have played 15 events. So that way, someone that played 2 events or something isn't throwing off all the data. So everyone in this list had played 15 events last season. There's a total of 58 people. So these are like the top 58 guys that played in 15 events. So looking on birdie rate, James Proctor was the one that had the biggest increase from 2022 to 2023. He increased 22.2% birdie rate to finish at a 44% rate in 2023. Some of the other top names, Eric Oakley, Matt Bell, Alden Harris, Aaron Gossage, Cole Redolin, Simon Lizotte. Now, the 3 guys that had the worst decline, Nico LaCastro saw a negative 2.6% decline. Thomas Gilbert saw a negative 2.9% decline. And Greg Barsby saw a negative 5.3% decline. Driving accuracy. The biggest ones that drew in driving accuracy, you had Aaron Gossage at number 1 with 77.1%. He went up almost 10% in driving accuracy this past season. Then you have Calvin Heimberg, Eric Oakley, James Proctor, Corey Ellis, Bradley Williams, and Gavin Babcock, all increasing their driving accuracy by more than 4%. Impressive stuff. Okay, who struggled? You had Nico LaCastro going down negative 3.6%. You had Tristan Tanner going down 5.1%. And you had Thomas Gilbert going down almost 10% in driving accuracy last season. Let's move over to greens and regulation. This is C2, circle 2, greens and regulation. Biggest movers, Aaron Gossage increased his green and regulation by 13.2%. Then you had James Proctor, Eric Oakley, Bino Makala, Calvin Heimberg, Gavin Babcock, and Chandler Kramer. Biggest droppers in greens and regulation. Interesting here. You had Kevin Jones. Kevin Jones dropped 6.1%. Thomas Gilbert dropped 10.4%, and Nico LaCastro dropped the most by 11.6%. C1X putting, this is the last category here. C1X putting, you had Ezra Aderhold making the biggest improvement, going more than 10.5% increase in his Circle 1X putting to finish 2023 at 85.5%. Cole Redolin at number 2, Uli at number 3, yours truly, myself at number 4. Look at that tour life, 3 and 4, baby. We're putters. We're sick putters over here. Then you have Chandler Fry, Chandler Kramer, and Simon Lizotte all finishing out in the top 7 of biggest improvements from Circle 1X putting. The guys that dropped the most, Gavin Babcock dropped 4.5%, Jeremy Colling dropped 5.9%, and Vinyl Makala dropped 6%. Now, what's the big takeaways here? Okay, well, the top players most improved is without a doubt James Proctor. James Proctor increased in every 8 of the 8 key categories. That's birdie percent, that's driving percentage, C1 green and regulation, C2 green and regulation, scramble, C1X putt, C2 putt, and OB rate. James Proctor.
Look at that.
Everything.
22%
birdie rate.
That's
he doubled.
Insane.
He doubled his birdies from the previous year to this year.
Insane.
Then you also have Aaron Gossage going 6 out of 8, improved 6 out of 8. The only categories that he dropped from last year to this year was his scrambling and his C1X putting. Other names that are super surprising for me on this list is Calvin Heimberg. Calvin Heimberg is on two of these things. If you look at this, some of the top guys, you don't really see some of the top players on here, right? Because they've just always been good. Calvin went from being really good 2 years ago to being insane last year. The fact that he increased in some of these categories is nutty. But Aaron Gossage increased on 6 of 8. And then our biggest decline, the guys that really struggled last year, you have Nico LaCastro decreasing in all but C2 putting. C2 putting was the only category that Nico had a better season in. And then Thomas Gilbert, the only 2 categories that Thomas Gilbert had a better season in was C1X putting and scramble. Edwin told me, he said, hey, listen, I was going to end it there. I thought that was pretty good for you guys. But he said, I started thinking about something and I wanted to dig deep. I wanted to dig a little further. Can I correlate something here? And so what he did next is he made a correlation graph of analysis for players with new sponsors. So these were the 6 guys that had the 6 biggest MPO players that had new sponsors last year. I'm talking Nico LaCastro, Thomas Gilbert, Mason Ford, AB, Cole Redolin, and Simon Lizotte. if you look on this graph, you want to be in the top right. The top right means that you got better at driving and you got better at putting. Cole Redolin was the one that was off the charts. He did the absolute best from putting and driving, going to his new sponsor, DGA. Then Simon Lizotte, we were all questioning. He's been with Discmania for so long. How is he going to perform in MVP? Well, he did fine. He almost improved by 5% in putting and 5% in driving. AB, he also been with Innova for a while. Now he's with Discraft. How is he going to do? He went about 2.5%, increasing his driving and green and regulation, and increased about 2% or so with his putting. Then you had Mason Ford, who went to Mint. He actually improved his driving and a little bit of a decrease in his putting. Nico, on the other hand, going to Lone Star. Nico actually improved on his putting to about 6 or 7%, but decreased heavily with his driving accuracy in green and regulation. And then the biggest one here is Thomas Gilbert. Thomas Gilbert leaving Prodigy, going to Thought Space. He almost decreased his driving and green and regulation by 10% and decreased his putting by a percentage or so. So I thought this was very fascinating and something that hopefully we can kind of keep a track on going into this season. We've got some big guys moving right now. Obviously, Eagles injured and hurt, but we have a lot of guys moving from sponsors that they've been with for a while to new plastic. How is that transition going to work? And I think now that we're getting better statistics and all this, we can kind of see a better breakdown. What are your thoughts on Edwin Stats for this week, Uli?
Love Edwin.
Edwin's a monster.
Hey, listen, I met Edwin. I gave him
did you?
Yeah, he came for a lesson last week, actually.
Oh, heck yeah.
And
super nice guy, too.
He is absolutely jacked on statistics. Like, it's his favorite thing. He was so excited to do it, man. His energy was awesome, and I really appreciate him giving these stats, man. So, like you said, shout out to Edwin, man. Good to have him on the team.
And everyone that dropped a comment last week saying that you guys loved Edwin Stats, thank you for doing that. Like that stuff takes a really long time to do, and he really does appreciate that. So if you guys like Edwin Stats, if you like the new segment that we do, make sure that you're dropping a like on the video, and also leave him a nice little note in the comments after the video, or if you're listening onto the podcast and you love Edwin Stats, come over to YouTube, drop a comment for Edwin Stats. I'm always that's maybe, I still think wild story of the week. I mean, eating poop is, it's hard for me to be eating poop, but Edwin Stats is getting really close to my favorite segment on Tour Life. So shout out to Edwin as always. And he's in the chat too, right there. Wadkin22. He is a captain of Tour Life crew. So shout out. Let's go. He's in you guys maybe don't even know Edwin's with you guys. Okay. What are we going to next? Let's talk about this week in Foundation Disc Golf. Foundation Care, you guys have a few more days to test it out for free. What Foundation Care is, you basically buy something off of foundationdisc.com. We send it to you. If you don't like it, if you throw it and you're like, I already have a disc that does this, or you throw it and you're like, I thought this was going to be flippy, this is too overstable, you can basically email us with all that information is deeper on foundationdisc.com, but you basically email us, send it back to us, and we give you something else. I don't know how this makes any sort of sense for the business. I feel like I'm just getting money pulled out of my pockets. So take advantage of it. If you want some of Brodie's bucks, there you go. Go over, try out Foundation Care. You're welcome. There you go. Hunter said something I thought was very interesting on Grip Block this week, Uli. He said that he thinks Eagle signing with Discmania was a bigger signing than Simon signing with with MVP. Sorry, Eagle signing with MVP was a bigger signing than Simon signing with it. Agree or disagree?
Disagree.
I agree too. I agree with you. I disagree with him. I think Simon was the bigger signing. Now, he tried to make good points, which he said, hey, Simon is like the entertainer. Simon's the guy that you can put him in a video. People are going to watch the video, enjoy the video. But Eagle is like the disc nerd. He's the one that knows the plastics, know the molds, knows all that. And so he thinks putting Eagle with Simon now is like a dynamic duo that's going to, but I still think Simon going to MVP was the massive deal. Like that was huge. So I'm going to disagree with you there, Hunter. Maybe we can hash it out on debate night coming up. All right, let's jump into some listener questions here. Been a good show so far. We got some listener questions here. This one I wanted to poll. This was a comment, I think, from last week's podcast. They said, question for next podcast. 2023 final round at Idlewild on hole 16, Uli made a fantastic putt, and apparently he was on heater that round. I wasn't watching my UDisc closely enough to know. After he nailed the putt, me and my buddy were on the walkway and gave him some knuckles, congratulating him because he's my favorite player, and I didn't want to miss the opportunity to interact. My thinking is Uli has been doing this forever, and a simple fan interaction between holes wouldn't throw him off mentally. Otherwise, I wouldn't have tried. Uli was kind and gave me knuckles. As a pro, does this bother you guys? Does that interaction between holes throw you guys off? One of the volunteers scolded us for giving Uli knuckles because it was during a round, which I understood to a point. But being professionals, could something like this even mess with your focus? If so, I apologize. Maybe it was selfish of me to take the opportunity to knuckle Uli. Probably will never get the chance to again, so I took it. Am I the bad guy or no big deal?
No big deal, I don't think. I think there's a fine line with that stuff. A knuckles after a great putt or somebody doing something fantastic is absolutely fine to me if the player is going somewhere on a walkway and you put it out and then that said player gives it to you, right? But if they don't give it to you, that's still not a bad guy. I have a problem with like sometimes the interaction as far as like they might say a comment that you might question yourself, like, ooh, little high left there, huh? Or you get what I'm saying, or something like that. And then I'm like, what do you mean? That was dead center, like this isn't the time, or something like that. Going into the next hole, hey, make sure you land in the middle of the fairway on 18. Like then, that might be going a little bit overboard. But I feel like you see this a lot in sports. There's a time and a place and a moment. And I feel like I was probably in the zone because I don't remember it at all. So it's fine. It's absolutely fine to me.
I'll say this, whoever that volunteer is, I know I can't do this because I'm not in that position. And also you're a volunteer. So it's very hard to fire someone that's a volunteer, but I would fire that volunteer. Whoever scolded you for giving knuckles or a high five or anything like that, what are we trying to do here? This game, like we're out there playing to entertain you. If we aren't playing in front of fans, if we aren't entertaining you guys that are watching on TV or watching us play live, we're not doing it. Like this isn't a sport anymore. So the idea that you're supposed to go out there and put your hands in your pockets and watch people and your favorite player goes by and you're like, don't say anything, don't try to give him a high five. No, screw that. Like to me, that's crazy. Now I agree with Uli. Like, yes, there are certain things that, and again, if I'm walking up to a hole and you're like, hey man, don't throw it in the water. It's a sport. People are going to heckle. Yep. People are going to try to get inside your head.
For sure.
I'm not their favorite player. Let's say, I mean, this is a dream world, but let's say me and Uli are in a playoff and you hate me, but you love Uli. I'm not going to think less if you try to get in my head before a throw or a putt or anything like that. That's just part of sports, and I get it. But I mean, the knuckles and being scolded by doing that's wild, man. If I'm walking in between holes and you want to give me a high five or a fist bump or anything like that, freaking let's do it.
It was a fire putt too. I'm not gonna lie.
There you go. All right. Paul wants to know, how did you two goobers land trophy wives?
How?
Well, yeah, I think that's implying, like he's implying we're goobers by saying goobers. Yeah. So he's wondering how the heck did we end up doing that?
I got super lucky, man. The Lord blessed me. That's how.
Yeah, I mean, I think us having the same values is a massive, massive one. That definitely helps um, eliminate a lot of the field out there. But I think for me, it's Kelsey and me. It was the first time that she was able to feel that she could just be herself. She didn't have to put on an act. She didn't have to try to impress me. She didn't have to do anything. She could just be herself in front of me, and that's the person I fell in love with. And I think that's a big one for us is just being able to feel comfortable with one another, being able to sit next to one another and not have to talk and be comfortable with one another. That's a big one. So, and also just like we freaking have so much fun.
Yeah.
With I mean that's the huge thing is
Yeah,
you really
comfortability for sure.
You want to find someone that really basically what you're trying to do is you're trying to find your best friend that you're attractive to.
Mm-hmm.
That's at the end of the day, that's the
yeah.
game. That's what you're trying to do.
Absolutely.
That's what you're trying to do.
Well said, buddy.
Joe Rod, Pepsi Cola and Budweiser were big parts of the early days of disc golf and frisbee. What do you think it will take to get more of the outside companies involved in disc golf? And he had this photo, Uli, and I'm not sure if you've ever seen this.
Oh, I've seen those.
You've seen this? This
Yes.
is like a so this is the 1975 Invitational Flying Disc at the Rose Bowl, the World Frisbee Championship, Pasadena. And it's a Pepsi logo. So are you familiar?
I've heard about this. Yeah, they played in front of 50,000 people. It was sponsored by Pepsi. 50,000. Yeah, John Kirkland, I think, was
Cody's dad.
Yeah, was participating in that, if I remember correctly. What's it gonna take? I mean, just time. I feel like it's bound to happen. Really, to what extent, I don't know, but I think it's just time with those things. We're seeing more and more come into the sport. And
do you think the sponsorships with Budweiser and Pepsi Cola and frisbee and disc golf back in the day, do you think that was because those companies are obviously a lot, that's 50 years ago, if we're talking 1970, was this 1976, I think?
Yeah.
That's almost 50 years ago. Those companies are obviously a lot smaller. Do you think like someone that loved frisbee or someone that loved disc golf was kind of a high up in that, in their position at Pepsi or
I don't know
Budweiser, and that's why they went that route?
I think they were big back then. I think Pepsi was gigantic back then. That's what I
mean, they're not as big as they are now.
Well, no, but
they're
maybe
still big,
maybe for the era, it was still pretty big.
Yes, of course it was, for sure.
I also think that if you think about like frisbee back in the day, there wasn't like I'm not from then, so I'm going to just speculate. And this is just
not born yet.
Yeah, this is just me speculating. But the way that I would look at it back then is there's not a lot of different things people were doing, and frisbee was probably a big part of people's lives back then. Of being like, hey, let's drink a Pepsi or a Budweiser and go out and play catch on the beach. And maybe they were like kind of molded together that way. Just a guess.
I got to push back. Jack's saying Pepsi was definitely bigger back then. Bigger than now? No shot.
I don't know. No Pepsi was big, man.
Well, yeah, I know. They had the Michael Jackson commercials and all that stuff. But I'm just saying.
But like soda back in the day when it dropped, that stuff was awesome. So popular, I'm sure.
I mean, I could be way off here, but I gotta think Pepsi's a bigger company now than 50 years ago.
But if you look at like the growth, population, all that stuff, the increase in what do you call it? There's the inflation. I'm guessing it was probably pretty big. As far as like a pop.
Okay, I can get on that. There's way less back then in the I almost said in the 50s. 50 years ago, there were way less options.
Yeah, there was way less pop products or Coke products but
doesn't like Pepsi
products.
like own almost all the options? Like I feel like that's like they have such a huge umbrella of all these companies underneath them. All right, I'll have to dive into Pepsi's Wikipedia or something after this. All right, Don Jenkins, how long until flight numbers are shut down and a more exact and universal method of determining a disc flight is implemented and mandated?
I have no idea. This is tough because
I love this question
because I have no clue about flight numbers, and I get ridiculed for this all the time. That people ask me, "What are the flight numbers on that?" And I go, "Good question. Let me check." No clue. I know that there's 9 speeds, and then the bigger the rim gets, the higher the speed goes. That's all I know.
So what I'm taking of this is, does an outside, a third party company need to regulate flight numbers? Because could you potentially create the same exact disc and just change the flight numbers? So you didn't increase your cost at all. You literally just changed the stamp and sell it to your, customers. Like, should that be regulated? Should that someone be looking at that's not what's happening? And like people are actually changing the disc.
I don't know.
That's how I viewed it.
I got you. I'm thinking of it like this: like an understable mid range is gonna go left. Why do we need flight numbers? One that's like domey is gonna be more glidey. You could add like that word glide.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why these numbers need it. You know what I mean? Like if it's an overstable mid range, it's a mid range, and it's gonna go how mid ranges go.
Yeah. I mean,
Make it pretty simple.
One. Like at the end of the day, should it matter? Like
I do like that people do know it, and it does give them some way to kind of tell.
I get, maybe he's asking like, maybe his question was more,
maybe
should a 12 speed with Discraft be a 12 speed with Innova?
Gotcha.
Where right now they aren't. Maybe that was more the question. And I think for the consumer,
I
for
agree
the
with
players,
that.
that would be better, right? If there was hey, everyone sends their disc to someone and they send it back the flight number.
Perfect example. As soon as somebody says flight numbers, I have no idea what I'm talking about.
I don't either. I don't either. I just throw it. I'm like, that's overstable. That's straight. That's flippy. That's just.
And that's nice because I came from way back in the day. You're a newbie. Yeah. So, and then we both have the same view on it. So I don't feel alone.
Yeah. I'm 100% with you there. Andrew Flores, why aren't there more driving ranges for disc golf?
It's a good question. I think because of the retrieval.
Mm-hmm. That's a big one.
I think that if we had something, that's tough because you have your bag, you throw your bag, you're not going to want to just get a whole, like I could picture a driving range having like 100 nukes stacked up and 100 buzzes and 100 putters, and you just go out there and throw. For the top players or pros or people who are trying to get better, that's tough. Sure, you'll get the reps in, but you want to learn and dial in your own discs. Mm-hmm. And so the retrieval process is probably pretty tough. You'd have to go out there, retrieve, bring them back. That would be nice if they have the golf ball cart that picks them up and it doesn't damage them and you just roll them over and bring them back to you. I'd be down. I'd probably go to a driving range.
I was just thinking of like the movable walkways, and you just have a huge the ground out there is just movable walkways towards you. So as soon as the disc lands, it immediately starts just coming back towards you. But I mean, I think the other reason, other than how terrible it would be to retrieve the disc, the other reason is just space, right? The majority of disc golf courses are not on private land. They are on public land, public parks, all these things. You don't have any space for it. No one's going to be able to make money making a driving range for disc golf.
Right. I think that's what he's asking is why isn't there just driving ranges and not it doesn't have to be a disc golf course. It's just a driving range.
That's such a hard sell to be like, hey,
Yeah.
we're gonna have this driving range for disc golf here.
You'd have to have a retrieval program. You'd have to have some stuff that you're selling there. Maybe you're sitting there with your buddies and you're having a couple drinks and there's baskets out there and games, kind of like Top Golf or something.
Yeah, you would have to have a lot because like if you were just like, hey, this area right here is for a you're gonna have people playing soccer and football and all that stuff in this big field. But the way to do it is what like New London has done, right? Like New London has a little driving range off to the side, or another one's Preserve. Preserve has a good driving range where it's built into the course. You need space though, and at the end of the day, a lot of these disc golf courses that you go to, they're jamming these holes in. To get 18 holes, they're jamming them in. They just don't have the land. It costs too much.
Yeah, one of my biggest, I guess, pet peeves is the Pro Tour giving us courses to play with no driving range and just a net there.
Mm-hmm.
That's tough to warm up.
It's definitely
Maple Hill is
thing.
one that like comes to mind. I have to really go searching for an actual field to warm up.
Yeah, you and Brad normally kind of toss back and forth over like the Christmas trees.
Yeah.
All right, we got some questions now from our Instagram. If you guys aren't following us yet on Instagram, go check us out. Instagram is tourlife_podcast. I think we're going to do another big giveaway once we hit 10,000 followers over there. So go check that out. Our boy Grant does all the posting, or not. I guess he does all the reels over there. So really funny stuff. He really clips together what me and Uli say that isn't funny and somehow finds a way to make it funny. So go check us out. So here's some questions from our Instagram account. This one says, do pros like alcohol at events? I don't care. I think it should be there because I think sports and drinking kind of goes hand in hand. And I think that one increases a lot of people's enjoyment of watching sports, and two, it brings in more money to the tournaments. So that's why I'm all for it.
Yep, same answer for me. Yes. My answer is yes.
Let's see. Has Paul or Brodie ever thrown MVP's plastic? I have not. I don't believe I have.
I've thrown catch with the glitch. That's it.
Okay. Here we go. What variables help you choose a disc from a stack of your favorite molds?
Depends on the disc. If it's let's say if a fast driver, for example, I'm looking at dome. I want a specific dome on it, and I want a specific stiffness. If it's like a floppy flyer, no chance of going in my bag. If it's concaved, not going in the bag. It has to be like kind of a specific feel in order to make my bag as far as a fast disc. Because it's probably just gonna fly like a doo-doo bandit if it doesn't have those things.
Is Uli setting up to sell discs at Boyd Hill Blizzard this weekend? If so, I'm pumped.
I don't set up to sell discs typically, personally. But if you want to buy one of my discs, you can go to discraft.com. Go to the team.
Plug it.
Yep. Click on my page. Click on where it says icon or team captain. Click on that, and then it'll have apparel, discs, all kinds of different ones. I got a whole stack right here of stuff that are on the site.
Why does it seem like Drew has beef when he just did videos with Uli not very long ago? Good question. You guys were all out there doing videos.
I don't feel like I have beef with Drew. I think that this is a relationship that I've had with Drew for a very, very long time. One thing people don't know about Drew and I is he traveled with me for like the first 4 years of his touring life. And so we've spent a lot of time together, kind of a lot like with Big Germ and myself. People see us bicker and moan when we're playing our practice rounds and stuff, and we have disagreements, and they're like, man, these guys don't even feel like they like each other, and Germ's like, a brother to me. And Drew and I, we have probably more differences for sure than Germ and I, but I put him in the same category as Drew's always been there, and we're always going to disagree on stuff, and we're two hard-headed people who are going to probably not back down and have our opinions about something. But as far as I go, at the end of the day, it's not going to ruin my relationship with Drew.
Is it worse to play in extreme heat or extreme cold?
Extreme cold.
Yes.
Not even close.
Not even close.
No.
Not even close.
You know what the worst part about playing in the cold is? Because I just did it.
Everything.
No, the worst part.
There isn't one good part.
About playing disc golf in the cold, the worst part is your grip. Because you got those hand warmers, and then your hand's sweating. You bring it outside, and then it's cold all of a sudden, and now you have this weird sweat gland on your thumb, and you have no clue where this thing's going. So you're like trying to put powder on. I just went through it, man. It was awful. It's cold. It's cold. It's not even close.
Oh, great question. We'll end it with this one. If someone on my card is playing blind, so what that means is they're playing in a tournament round on a course they've never played before, so they don't know, what the hole does, where the basket is. Someone on my card is playing blind. Should I feel obligated to help them? This is a great question.
You shouldn't feel obligated, but you will.
Because they make it awkward. I feel like if you're playing a course blind, you should not ask questions. Just suck it up. Because you asking questions, you're making it awkward for everyone.
Yeah. But I've been this guy. I've been that guy, without a doubt, for sure.
Well, again, it depends on what level we're playing at. What level are you playing at? Because that matters. Are you playing MPO at a tournament?
I normally do.
At an A tier? Like MPO and an A tier, don't ask me.
I would drive across the country, Brodie, get there on like 8 o'clock and never have played the course and definitely ask questions.
I would have told you the wrong information and absolutely loved it. Be like, yeah, there's wide open, no trouble anywhere. Just wherever you land it, you should have a putt.
Yeah,
it's just an island green.
But that was a typical thing, and there was no rangefinders back in the day, so you couldn't get numbers. It was all crazy, man. You show up to a course, play it blind. You know who the king of playing a course blind is? The king, Kale LaVisca. His best rounds, he says, are playing a course blind sometimes. That's crazy.
You know why I don't want to know you haven't played this course before? Because I hate it when we're on hole 12 and you're like, hey, what does this hole do? I've never played here before. And you're beating me. I hate that crap. So that's why I don't want to know that you're playing a course for the first time and I'm getting beat. All right. Yeah. So just keep that to yourself. Keep that to yourself. Good questions, though. Thank you guys for sending all those questions in. All right. We should probably, I know David's probably listening or will listen to this. David, we should probably have an email where people, because a lot of times how I do the questions is I'll just post on Twitter, like, hey, what questions do you have for the podcast tonight? We should probably have an email similar to like the Wild Story where you guys can send us in questions. So that way, if you have a question or something pops up, you don't have to wait a couple hours before the podcast. You can just shoot us an email. So David, let's get on that for next week. We'll have an email that you guys can send in your questions, and then we can pull from the email every week. I like that. All right. Housekeeping, Tour Life crew, a couple of new members. Shout out to our new members. Thank you guys so much. We had Tyler become a new member, Matt become a new member, Brian H for 9 months. Let's freaking go. Marcos, non-conformist millennial. Who else we got? Dylan, we got Brandon, a lot of people. So shout out to our Tour Life crew. If you don't know what that is, if you watch us live here on YouTube, our Tour Life crew are the people that help support this podcast. for as little as I think as $1.99. It allows you to comment on the live stream as we're live. We kind of pay attention to the chat a little bit. Silas will throw some of the good comments on there too for everyone to see. And then there's a bunch of other benefits too. If you want to, support Tour Life a little bit more, there's other options. But we appreciate all of our Tour Life crew members. Tour Life crew merch, I've already talked about it. Pick up your Tour Life crew merch. We need to smash Grip Locked. Smash them. So if you've got family, if you got friends, if you got a birthday coming up, Christmas is only a couple months away. Time to get that Tour Life merch. That is what we want to see. So we appreciate everyone for supporting the channel. Reviews, update, Spotify. I don't like this number, so I'm going to assume someone else made a review in the amount of time it took me to look this up. And now, so we have 912 Spotify reviews. We have 247 Apple reviews. We appreciate everyone for reviewing the podcast. We really do. You guys are enjoying the podcast and have enjoyed the podcast. Drop a like on the YouTube video. It definitely helps us out a lot. Drop a comment. Let us know what you liked, what you didn't, what we should talk about next week. Uli, Silas, do we have anything else? Did I miss anything? All right. Great show, everyone. We appreciate it. Thank you so much. And next week, we might have a reoccurring guest come on. I think it might be time. It might be time to have a reoccurring guest come on. So we appreciate you guys so much, and we'll see you guys next week.